everybody, good evening. It is so nice to see you here at our concert hall at CMC. I'm also saying hi to all our friends on the live stream tonight. Thanks for joining us. My name is Julie Ruliak-Steinberg. I'm the executive director here at CMC, and I am so happy to welcome you to, this might be our third Concert with Conversation of this year. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a minute and share a land acknowledgement. At CMC, we acknowledge that our organization sits upon the unceded Ramaytush Ohlone homeland. The Ramaytush Ohlone people were the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula and still are today, and we make this acknowledgement as a way to create some reconciliation and cultural understanding. I wanted to share, for those of you here in the room tonight, there are a couple reminders. We are still requiring face masks here at CMC, so we really appreciate it if you keep yours on. And also just want to remind you, because it's been a while, probably maybe, since some of you have been at a live concert, to go ahead and silence your cell phones, anything that dings, beeps. We want to make sure we hear all the notes our wonderful artists tonight play. As I mentioned, this is our Concert with Conversations. If some of you may be wondering, what is that? First of all, this is a really wonderful and long-standing partnership that CMC has had with San Francisco Performances. We have Melanie, the president, and Yuri back there, so thank you to you two so much for helping to make this possible for our audiences at CMC. So our artists will share a set of music, and then when it's over, there will be sort of a facilitated question and answer where you can ask the artists anything you want to know about them, about the music they make, their rehearsal process. I often say what they had for lunch, so it's a really wide-ranging and open conversation. So I'm really excited to share, to open tonight and welcome to the stage a drummer who the New York Times says takes a back seat to no one. Ulysses Owens Jr. is an artist who has performed on Grammy-winning albums and I believe has 7 albums of his own. He is an educator, and I have to say, this week Ulysses worked with our tuition-free teen jazz ensemble and was just spectacular. Our students raved about it. And he is also an author and an advocate. He has his own youth empowerment organization called Don't Miss a Beat, so has just incredible breadth of experience, and he is joined tonight by 2 phenomenal Bay Area artists, pianist Adam Schulman, who some of you may have seen at our gala this past week with the Marcus Shelby Trio, as well as bassist Michael Sisman. So everyone, please put your hands together and welcome to the stage Ulysses Owens Jr.
right, good evening, everyone. Oh, come on, this is a jazz audience. Good evening. We believe in call and response here. I'm so excited to be here. This is the end of what was an incredible week. I'm very honored to be here with SF Performances. And in true jazz fashion, I met these gentlemen about maybe 2 hours ago. And and they are phenomenal. And we put together a program of music. But before I tell you about that, please meet Adam Schulman on the piano. And Michael Zisman on the bass. And it's been really cool because Michael and I actually have a connection to New York City. I lived in New York exclusively for about 20 years. He lived there for quite some time. And so in the back, we were catching up on a whole bunch of cool places and people that we all know. And that's the thing I love about music. And Adam is now a part of the family as well, so it's great to meet them. That composition that we opened up with was actually composed by the late, great Ellis Marsalis, and it was called Swinging at the Haven. And I just found out that the Haven was actually a club in New Orleans. So that was that tune was sort of in tribute to that club. We're going to continue on actually with a composition that I love to play, and I've been playing it for many years. And to me, you cannot have a jazz concert without performing the work of Duke Ellington. Duke Ellington, let's give it up for Duke. Duke is incredible, and given my beginnings of jazz in New York City and at Juilliard, that was like one of the first things I did was play Duke's music, and so I always kind of feel this kinship to his work, and we have to present it. So we're going to play a composition titled Mood Indigo, and as I love to tell audiences, especially now that I get to perform for audiences again in person, we're going to continue to play our absolute hearts out for you. So thank you for being here, those audiences here, and also those in the interweb as well. So thank y'all for being here. Michael Zisman on the bass. That was George Gershwin's Embraceable You. And we're going to continue on. I know we have a quick concert tonight with these guys. I could play literally all night with them. But we have one more piece for you, which is called My Shining Hour. But before we do that, I want to thank just our incredible team here, Melanie and Yuri, for bringing me out. It's just been an honor. For those that may not know, education and outreach is something that's very near and dear to me. In Jacksonville, Florida, where I live, I have a nonprofit there called Don't Miss a Beat, where I work with kids. So, you know, educating and bringing the music and bringing the arts to children is something that is not just something I do because I'm like, oh, it's a way to work. No, it's something that I believe in. And I actually think that particularly for our art form, jazz, and particularly really any art form, if we don't reach out to that next generation, I don't think we know what tomorrow will be. But I will tell you that having a chance to work with like Berkeley High School and the conservatory, I think that definitely on this side of the world, jazz is in good hands. So I'm honored to be able to just play one small little part in working with probably about 7 or 8 institutions this week, and I look forward to coming back and doing more within all the different residency moments that I will have. And we also have some other cool concert moments as well that I think we will be bringing to you. But in the meantime, I'm glad that I get a chance to make music with these incredible musicians. And I'm not just saying that because I've had this scenario before where it wasn't as fun. But these guys are like the real deal. They're like, they can play. So give it up for Adam Schulman, Michael Zisman, and again, I'm Ulysses Owens Jr., and really honored to be here and play some drums and some jazz for you. So we're going to close out again with My Shining Hour. Thank y'all. Adam Shulman, Michael Zisman on bass, and Ulysses Owens Jr. Thank you all so much.
Give it up one more time for Ulysses Owens Jr. Adam and Michael, thank you both so much for being here with us. This is the part of the show where we get to interact with the audience a little bit. So, as you've all been sitting here tonight enjoying the performance, if there's something that you have a burning question about, raise your hand, and now's a great time to engage these musicians. And just so that y'all know, I will be repeating them just so our folks in the live stream can hear what the questions are. We have a question right here. Go ahead. That's a really good question. How did you learn your instruments? Any highlights of study you want to share with us? You can.
Well, my parents made me learn piano. Actually, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, basically, at a very young age, I started playing piano at 7 years old, and I had my first piano recital right here on this stage. Yeah. So, and then, for a long time, I just kind of did it because my parents told me I should do it. And then after a while, I really grew to love it, and then I wanted to do it on my own. So that's how I learned.
Well, my father played music, and I wanted to be like him. So he played the trumpet, and I started learning all kinds of instruments so that we could play together and talk together in music.
Similarly, I actually started playing drums when I was about 2 years old, I'm told. My mother was a choir director in church, and so she would sit me near the drummer to keep her eye on me, and apparently one day the drummer got up, and I got on and started standing up and playing. So I always tell people I don't know life without music because I've been playing it since I was so young. So.
What a great question. We got to learn so much about our performers that way. Awesome. Anyone else? Questions, thoughts? Want to share, ask about the music? I think this audience was just enamored of your beautiful playing.
No, thank you.
I want to say thank you. Oh, wait, we have a question. Yes, go ahead right there.
As somebody that maybe doesn't get to live in the creative space all day, like you guys, what would you recommend somebody to kind of get into that space when they're practicing at night or after work or, when they pick up and feel like it? How do you switch your mind into that?
So one thing about me, you want to repeat that?
Yeah, that was a great question just about how folks who don't live and breathe sort of professional musician creativity, how to sort of transition into that space whenever you're done with work and you're ready to practice.
So for me, there's two things that really drive me creatively. Obviously, music is at the top of the list. The second thing for me is writing. I'm both a writer as well. And so for me, when I start my morning, I'm starting at either writing or with music. And same, I end my night writing, reading, or with music. So I think, in terms of those that want to kind of experience a similar way that we live, and obviously I would love to hear from Adam and Michael, I think for me, I have to start it in my days with creativity, whether that's fueling it or, learning from others and their creativity. But I can't just start the morning just running errands. Even if I'm doing that, I'm taking in some kind of creative energy because it's what fuels everything that I do and kind of gives me that special way of experiencing life.
Yeah, I second that. I think, it's how a lot of writers, they talk about, I need to set aside this time. I think there's kind of this misconception with artists that we're just struck by a lightning bolt of creativity, but I think a lot of it is just carving out the time to do it. That's hard to make it a priority. So I would just say, every day I'm going to take 20 minutes to do this thing and really concentrate on it. Don't, check your whatever, just concentrate on that thing. And I think, just having a regular practice can really help.
That was a great question, but really great question. Our days as professional musicians aren't maybe what you think, though, because most of it is logistics. We have families. Ulysses as a kid. You got to, hey, do I have all my stuff together? Are my clothes pressed? Do I need to get to the gig? Is there going to be an instrument there? What am I doing? Here's 15 phone calls I got to make. I got to write these contracts. And it's not creative necessarily. Now, that said, being in music is a paradigm, right? It's a profession, it's an art, but it's also a paradigm of thought about solving problems. It's about a way of life. And so when everything that we do, whether we're working on our house or banging nails or working on the car or trying to do the computer, we're doing it in a musical way. We're doing it with the same idea how we would approach music. Just like when a carpenter plays music, they assemble music. They can be great musicians, but they assemble it like a carpenter would, But I hear what you're asking is when is that time? we have to create times for ourselves. If that time that you really want to play or learn to play or whatever, all of us are students, just like everybody here at the school. We're all still students, and we're students of music, students of life, and taking that time out is sacred. And that time, that 15 minutes, that 20 minutes, an hour, if I have 2 hours anymore to myself, that's amazing, you know. But just taking that time is like sacred to me, because that's the engine that makes the rest of it run. And I need that quiet time just to sit down and say, what am I hearing? What am I doing? And that makes the rest of our lives run. So if you take that time, it's for you.
My gosh, that was such good advice. Other questions? Oh, right here in the front. Mr. Steve Shapiro, former Executive Director of Community Music Center.
Would any or all of you like to tell us about a special teacher that really influenced your musical growth?
Steve asks about a special teacher who is a creative memory for these musicians.
Yeah, we actually were speaking about him backstage, Michael and I. He's a great pianist. He is no longer with us in the earth realm, but his name is Mulgrew Miller. And Mulgrew Miller, I met him literally 3 weeks after living in New York for, that amount of time at Juilliard, and he was a guest artist. And he came in, and I remember he heard me play, and he came over to the drums, and he took my hand. And anybody that ever met Mulgrew knew he had these huge hands. And he wrapped his big hand around mine, and he started playing the ride cymbal. He said, "You got to make it dance, kid." And he literally talked to me every day, whether it was on the phone or email, for the next 12 to 15 years until he died. And he taught me about music and taught me about life. And he was one of the first jazz musicians I met that was actually, and it's not a backhanded compliment, but he was like really into the idea of being a wholesome person, father, husband, all that, and jazz musician. Because, oftentimes they tell you as a jazz musician, you got to have this like crazy life to like be authentic. And Mulgrew was like, no, you can actually like have your stuff together, like be like a cool person that also made music on a really high level. So he meant a great deal to me, and there's not a day that I don't play this instrument and think about him. So he was extraordinary.
All right, so I just learned something. That's why we get along, because Ulysses and I are what's known as, I call ourselves the bastard sons of Memphis. And my teacher was named Harold Mayburn. And I met Harold when I was 18, and he took us along until the end of his life pretty recently. And the last time we played here in San Francisco, I played with him in Europe, I played with him at Monterey Jazz, I played with him all over. And he was always taught me amazing things, just not about music, but about life. And they were from, Harold and Mulgrew, they were from Memphis, and they idolized Phineas Newborn, and there's a whole scene in Memphis that, some of the people from Memphis, right? But there's tons. And that's a whole music scene there. And Harold, one of the most important things he taught me is Harold, it wouldn't matter where you went. If he came to a place like this and he heard a 12-year-old playing something that he didn't know on the piano, he goes, "Hey, man, how do you do that?" And there's a master. And he's asking a 12-year-old, "How do you play that?" That was the thing. I always remember Harold Mayburn.
Well, I have two, I guess. My childhood teacher, who got me up here for my first piano recital. Her name is Heidi Forster. She's still teaching, and she was just she just gave me she nurtured the love of music for me. It was just it was all about joy for her. So I really appreciated that. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but I think in retrospect, talking to other people who had kind of taken lessons, and it wasn't necessarily a joyful experience. and I was very lucky to have that. And I, I teach now too, and I like to always, push that on my students, push the joy. And then the other person that was really formative for me was Smith Dobson, who I went to UC Santa Cruz, and he was taught piano there. So it's interesting. It's all pianists that are big influences. But yeah, he was, for jazz, he was my biggest influence and kind of a mentor. So.
I want to just thank all of you again for sharing your stories with us, for being here. Please give Ulysses and our band, Adam, Michael, one more round of applause. Thank you again, SF Performances, for these wonderful concerts. I hope that you'll all have a chance to check out their website. They have wonderful stuff coming up. They're going to be announcing their new season soon, so tune in there. And just as a reminder, if you're inspired by what you heard tonight, if you want to find that joy in music, CMC is a place for you to do that. It's never too late. It's very rarely too soon. We have programs for everyone of every age and every level, so please join us online at sfcmc.org. Thank you all for being here. Stay warm and dry in the windy weather out there, and we hope we'll see you at our next concert. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Here, right.